I feel very called to become a member of the Catholic Church.
Love the Catholic Church. It's just the best place to be.
From the studios of EWTN, this is Open Line. In North America, call toll-free 1-800-585-9396. That's 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985. You can also send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
Well, the World Meeting of Families is officially underway in Philadelphia. It will culminate this weekend with a visit from our Holy Father, Pope Francis, and we couldn't be more excited. We are excited, however, that you're joining us for a Tuesday edition of Open Line here on EWTN, Global Catholic Radio Network. I'm Jack Williams. Michael McCall is your producer today, and Matt Gabinski screening your phone calls. If you'd like to be on the program, the number's 1-800-585-9396. That's toll-free anywhere in North America. 1-800-585-9396. If you're outside the United States and Canada, maybe you're in the country from a foreign land to attend the World Meeting of Families, your number is 205-271-2985. That's 205-271-2985. Or you can send us an email, openline@ewtn.com. And Barbara, how are you, first of all?
Oh, thank you, Jack. I'm just fine. I'm excited about our Pope being here.
It's going to be tremendous. If you would be so kind, we're going to depart from our normal format just a little bit because we have Megan in the great state of Michigan who is kind of holding over from last hour because she wanted to talk to you and we thought you would be the perfect person to field her questions. So we're going to take her first, if that's all right with you.
Of course.
Megan is in Michigan listening on Ave Maria Radio Network, 990 AM. Megan, you're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, Megan.
Thank you for taking my call. Thank you, Barbara.
Sure. How can we help?
Okay, I just have a little question. My husband and I are pro-life Catholics, and my husband is eligible for a clinical trial of gene therapy for his rare eye condition, which would require him to have foreign genetic material in a virus, injected into his eye, which they think that there would be a possibility of birth defects if we were to conceive during that time. Mm-hmm. And so one of the requirements, if he was to do this clinical trial, would be to use birth control to prevent that from happening. And I've always, had an issue with doing that, but I know it's not for the intention of, I guess, I don't know. I'm confused on what I should do.
Okay. Well, listen here, not a problem. I have a great friend called Dr. Teresa Stigan, and I was able to talk to her husband this morning. She's in her practice, but she's a wonderful OBGYN. You can find her, too, at mysticalroseobgyn.com. That's one word, Mystical Rose, MYSTICAL Rose, OBGYN.com. And because I knew what I was going to say to you, but she had something to add. When you say that you cannot use birth control, there's nothing wrong with controlling births. It's how you do it. It's how you do it. If you have an unselfish reason to control births or even to decide that your family is complete, it's what you do and how you do it, right? So Dr. Stigan, who is an expert on NAPRO technology, expert on NFP. You've heard of NFP, right, Megan? Oops. Okay. Megan, have you heard of NFP, hun?
Yes, I have. Yes, that's what we're doing right now.
Awesome. Okay. Well, This is what Dr. Stigan said. NFP should work fine for you to avoid a pregnancy in this serious situation. But if the medical issue for avoiding pregnancy is truly grave, and, I guess you would say it's truly grave, they can also have a family planning progesterone blood draw on peak +3. If you use NFP, you know what peak +3 means. And this will confirm on that particular day that the egg has died, and so the marriage act will not result in a pregnancy.
Okay.
So that's something extra.
Do you always have to use the blood draw, or is there another? Do you know if there's another way?
Well, I would say for as long as this gene therapy goes on, you would just want to use the blood draw because you want to make positive on peak +3 to confirm that the egg has died. Yeah?
I like that's a much better alternative for me. I'm a lot more comfortable with that right now.
Well, sure, absolutely. Absolutely, because there's always abstaining till the gene therapy is over with, but that's not even necessary with NFP. So, so that's good, hon, and I'm glad, and we'll be praying for your husband, okay?
Thank you. Okay, thanks so much for your
God
advice.
bless you, Megan.
Thanks, Megan. Appreciate that phone call. Barbara, we got an email from Ian, and he said, I thought you would find it interesting, parenthetically and outrageous, that fetal kidneys procured by STEM Express were used by researchers for, get this, adult rat kidney transplants.
Oh, dear God.
The Center for Medical Progress document aborted fetal parts order list for 3/2013 shows on page 2 that fetal kidneys were procured for Ganogen Incorporated and picked up by co-founder of Ganogen. The founder of Ganogen, Eugene Gu, has publicly bragged about accomplishing this fetal-to-rat kidney transplant. Please bring this to your listeners. Due to my work schedule, I'm not able to call your shows, but I do listen regularly to Open Line Tuesday podcasts. And I can't imagine anything worse than destroying a human life so its organs can be transplanted into a rat. This is a new low and modern Nazism. That's from Ian.
Yeah, okay. Well, I totally agree 100%, as we all do. We're all very much aware of the Center for Medical Progress, David Delayden's group that exposed all of this, the idea that rats were also being used. It's just a total denigration of human life, degradation rather. Unbelievable that they would do this, and but yet again, we should not be surprised. I don't think we should be surprised, Jack. And so, yes, Ian, thank you for being so aware. Thank you for your kind comments, and keep up the good work, because really that's up to us, Jack, to get the word out there.
That's right.
About what we can do. So whenever if you want to talk about the webcast, because since we're talking about David Delayden, that was an incredible experience for moi on this particular day last Tuesday.
And we will break that open momentarily. Okay. If you've got a question for Barbara, the phone lines are wide open, 1-800-585-9396. That's toll-free anywhere in North America, 1-800-585-9396. Open Line Tuesday with Barbara McGuigan.
Hello, this is Cardinal Donald Wuerl of the Archdiocese of Washington, and you're listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
One of the essential questions in the modern debate between atheism and theism is whether physical reality and time itself had a beginning. If it did have a beginning, then theism would for sure be vindicated. But if it didn't, then perhaps the atheist could hold out with the hope of an eternal universe without a creator. Which view does science give credence to? In 2003, three of the most respected physicists, Drs. Alexander Vilenkin, Arvind Borda, and Alan Guth, demonstrated that any model of physical reality that has an average expansion rate greater than 0, whether it's our universe, a multiverse, or a bouncing universe, even within the higher dimensions of space and string theory, has to have a beginning. And if a beginning, then it would need a transcendent creator in order to receive its existence. To learn more about this topic, visit our website, magicenter.com. I'm Carlo Broussard, apologist and speaker for the Magis Center, with your Magis Minute.
This is Open Line on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. If you have a question or comment, call 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985 or send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
Pope Francis is coming to America today. And this is a great time to download the EWTN app. You can follow the Pope's travels in what's left of his, well, you can probably follow his leaving Cuba and his travels here in the U.S. by going to EWTNapps.com. That's EWTNapps.com. AdvocacyPrevention.com. Barbara, you listened to a fantastic, or watched a fantastic webcast, and if our listeners want to hear about that, they're going to have to hold on for just a minute. So that's what we call a tease in the business, Barbara.
Okay, good.
But first, we're going to head back to the phones and talk to Kathy in Pennsylvania. She's listening on AM 720. Kathy, you're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Barbara. Thank you for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Sure.
I have a quick question for you, please. Where can I find reliable information about aborted fetal tissue and its use in vaccines? You know, the flu shot now is coming out, and it's always being pushed by the doctors for my kids and for us. And, and also, I didn't mention this before, but also this Gardasil vaccine. I'm just really concerned about the vaccines, first of all, about the aborted fetal tissue, and then just where I can get reliable information from a Catholic perspective on vaccines.
Okie dokie. Two things. First thing would be to go to childrenofgodforlife.com.org. I think it's .org. Children of God for Life. That's founder Debbie Vintage. And you can just put in their little search there what you want to know. And you will also see, if you just search around on the sidebar there, that she has a list of all the vaccines.
It's .org.
.org, okay, good. You can see the list of all the vaccines, and as far as I know, unless she's changed the whole list, the flu vaccine does not contain any fetal stem cells. So there's no fetal tissue there. But you will be able to see a whole lot more, and you can do number 2. You can listen to The Good Fight this coming Saturday, because I will have 2 people. Dr. Moy, M-O-Y, will be on with me, and he is the founder of the John Paul II Institute. And he will, actually, the John Paul II, I have to get the exact words. Keep listening and I'll find out the exact words for this. I don't have it right in front of me. But he will be on the first hour, and Debbie Vintage, the founder of Children of God for Life, will be on the second hour of The Good Fight, which begins from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern. So in PA there, you would be Eastern, yes?
Wonderful. I will do that.
And really call in, because you can call in. You can ask Dr. Moy or Debbie Vintage all of the concerns that you have, as well as you should have, and they will answer your questions. They are in the forefront of this fight against using fetal stem cells for, from aborted babies. It's just incredible what they know.
Great. Right. I'll look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate the phone call. 1-800-585-9396 is your ticket to talk to Barbara McGuigan. That's the number. Excuse me. That's the number Christy used in Albany, New York, listening on Stations of the Cross AM 1460. Christy, you're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, Christy. Hello, Christy.
Christy, are you there? Tell you what, we'll come back to Christy here. We'll put her back on hold and check with her in just a second. But Barbara, you'd mentioned earlier that last Tuesday you tuned into a 1-hour webcast with 11,000 of your closest friends.
11,038 to be exact, of my closest friends. It was really an amazing, fascinating webcast. And boy, if any of our listeners had the chance to listen to this, it would have been last Tuesday evening. 6 o'clock on PT, and then 10 o'clock on regular time, or 9 o'clock, that would have been, right, on Eastern time. But anyway, David DeLayden and David B. Wright, and I mean, boy, I don't know how these 2 men could have been named anything other than David. Talk about going up against Goliaths, these guys. But what they, and really, I know both of them. I've interviewed both of them. I've met both of them. And I have the utmost love and respect for them. But it's the first time that I've ever been on any kind of a webcast, not with them, but with the legal team that fights for them. And that would be Katie Short of the Life Legal Defense Fund and Tom Breca of the St. Thomas More Society. They were also on the webcast. So, I mean, I lit up like a Christmas tree when I'm sitting here thinking about who is actually speaking. Turns out they, of course, David B. Wright interviewed or talked about, introduced David DeLayden first. He's only 26 years old, Jack. He's 26 years old. He did work with Lila Rose for a few years back, and but for the past 30 months, he was doing this undercover investigation after a lot of preparation and a lot of legal advice. He has done absolutely nothing illegal. And so David B. Wright, who is 40 Days for Life, sorry, I should have mentioned that, he asked him to summarize shortly in the shocking revelations. And he said 3 basic revelations were brought into the light about Planned Parenthood. Number 1, that Planned Parenthood sells aborted baby parts and they make money from the sale. Number 2, Planned Parenthood changes abortion procedures to get higher quality tissue. Okay, and so what we know from that is that partial birth abortion, which is also illegal, is being violated here. And number 3, the activity that goes up to the top levels of Planned Parenthood has been reported on and approved of by these top levels, and it has been exposed. So that, okay, he really summarized it well. And so I'll skip over to Katie Short of the Life Legal Defense Foundation. She is a brilliant attorney, and they both Tom Breca and Katie Short had incredibly wonderful things to say about this 26-year-old man, David DeLayden. And so what she was saying now is that Planned Parenthood, who is the largest provider of abortion, over 50%, she said, of their income, which we know is from abortion, that they are pulling out all the stops to discredit the Center for Medical Progress and, of course, David DeLayden, right? But they are claiming that they have been discredited by him. That's the way they're twisting this whole thing. The devil has a global scheme. He really knows how to work things, to twist things. So because of the videos that David has released, and honestly, if I'm telling you, Jack, if any of our listeners out there have not watched these, at least to my knowledge, 10 videos, if you haven't watched them yet, and yes, it's painful. It is painful to watch some of these videos. But you offer up that pain because it's really not about us who are watching the videos, but about these little unborn babies that are being ripped apart and crushed in certain places, which is even said by one of the officials of Planned Parenthood, how they can crush above and crush below so they don't ruin the tissue that they can then sell to research. So what I'm saying is, please watch them. You don't understand. It's almost like, Jack, isn't it true about the Holocaust? Look how we were all exposed to all of those emaciated, bony bodies. Remember?
Yep.
That were being ready to be shoved into a big ditch that was built, their grave, and they were all piled. We had to see that in order to understand what Hitler and all of his minions, the SS, what they were all about, their doctors, Mengele, all of them. We had to see those pictures. We have to see David's videos. So now Planned Parenthood is attacking David and the Center for Medical Progress by launching investigations. Okay, so what is happening now? There are all kinds of audits of CMP. There are a lot of requests from Congress to fight CMP. STEM Express had the first lawsuit, which you remember, and I thought this was an absolute miracle. They got a TRO, a temporary restraining order, where the judge reversed their restraining order. But what I didn't understand, I thought it was over with. No. The suit still goes on. They wanted Kate Dyer's video. Remember the one with Holly O'Donnell when she was giving the testimony about how they tapped the baby's heart to keep the baby alive. It was born alive. They took it because they can't get the organs, right? Unless they only have 5 minutes after they try to take the organ. They need 5 minutes to process it for transplantation or for whatever they intend to do, the research. And so anyway, then they talked about cutting into the baby's chin and all the way through the baby's face in order to get the brain. Okay, they want all this shut down, all these documents shut down. But so the case is still ongoing, and then they have the second case that Tom Breka from the Thomas More Society talked about, and this is really incredible. It's a humongous case, to use his words, with 13 claims. Now they have a RICO law slapped on David DeLayton plus 12 other claims. RICO was the racketeering charge that they used to use for the mafia. And it took Joe Scheidler, a friend of mine, it took him of the Pro-Life Action League 12 years to resolve his legal suit, his RICO suit against Planned Parenthood. So what they're trying to do is get a permanent gag order and rid of all of the evidence that David came up with, accusing them of federal and state crimes. It's huge what is going on with this guy. And not only do they have multiple congressional committees who want detailed evidence from David, you see, because the truth is at stake here. And this is why I can't say this in a more compelling way. The truth is at stake. They want that one with one of the first ones, right? Maybe it was the first with Dr. Nucatola. They want that taken down, but they are pushing contempt sanctions on David. So now you have massive corporate law firms, some in San Francisco. I think most are in San Francisco. They're trying to crush David. You have the Obama administration trying to crush him. You have the DOJ that wants to get involved to crush him. And you have the California Attorney General involved to crush him. So Tom Breka said it's the most intensive year of his life, this past year, in his whole entire career. So and really, they didn't ask me to do this. Trust me, I knew this was an act of God that I got on here and talked about this today, because they need financial help, as you can imagine. Just last month, Tom Breka said cost $60,000 to defend David. Just last month. So you can go to the Thomas More Society. Actually, here's the whole thing. Donate at thomasmoresociety.org. And at least the time, last Tuesday.
So that would be an email address.
That is, yes, okay, yeah. Donate at thomasmoresociety.org. I mean, I gave them $100. I mean, that's all I could do. But you can give them even less than that, because they have donors now that have put up, at least this was last week. It could be off the charts by now. But they have donors who put up $105,000 that they would match. So it means $210,000 if they can raise this kind of money. You know what? You can't say you're pro-life if you don't put your money where your mouth is. If you never write a check. Now, I know there are other ways of stewardship. I get all this. But we're fighting for our religious freedom here, and we're fighting for the truth about Planned Parenthood. That's the least we can do. Even $10 would be helpful.
And this whole situation is a complete and utter abomination. That this would be perpetrated upon him. At the beginning of several of these videos, there was a graphic of the federal statute that's being violated, and how the people on these videos who have admitted to violating this statute in various ways and on several accounts, how they are not led away in handcuffs is beyond me.
beyond me too, Jack, beyond me. And this is why we don't want to lose hope. We are the hope. We're the hope for these babies.
Christy in Albany, New York, hang in there. You're up next. Open Line Tuesday.
EWTN Radio is drawing people of all races, nations, and walks of life to the life of Christ.
My father has a physical disability. Because of that, he cannot always make it to the Mass. Thanks to EWTN's airing the daily Mass, he's right there following along.
With satellite radio, I can listen to any show on EWTN's Catholic programming.
EWTN, truly the global Catholic radio network.
60 Seconds with Mother Angelica.
Do you know yourself? Nobody knows himself. That's why if somebody says, "Why are you so impatient?" you say, "I'm not impatient." Or, "Why are you so angry all the time?" Who's angry? I'm never angry. Okay. We don't know ourselves. You know, I've told you that there's so many of these mystics have said that the Lord would come one day and give us a warning, that we would see ourselves as He sees us. Oh, that would be a shock, huh? Somebody sent me a videotape. We watched it the other night. These people who had death experiences, they all saw this light, but what they all saw was themselves. And they were surprised. Well, if you know yourself, you wouldn't be surprised, would you?
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
I see God as a trusting father, a father who really cares for me, is guiding me in His providence, one who really has me wrapped in His love so that I don't need to worry about anything as I go through my day-to-day life.
Without God, I'm nothing. Take Two with Jerry and Debbie is a fresh look on life through the eyes of faith, love, and mercy.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, weekdays, noon and midnight Eastern on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
This is Open Line on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. If you have a question or comment, call 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985 or send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
As we've been telling you, Pope Francis is coming to America today, and he'll make history this week as he'll be the first pontiff ever to speak to a joint session of Congress in Washington, D.C., and he's also going to deliver an address to the United Nations in New York. And we have live, uninterrupted coverage available in both English and Spanish. So stick with us here at EWTN every step of the way. From the moment of his arrival at the White House to celebrating Holy Mass at St. Patrick's Cathedral and the National Shrine, and plenty more. EWTN is your guide via cable, satellite, live stream, and radio for the most comprehensive multimedia coverage of Pope Francis's apostolic visit to the United States. A couple pieces of housekeeping. The name of Dr. Moy's organization is the John Paul II Medical Research Institute.
Oh, thank you,
The John Paul II Medical Research Institute. And then there was one other thing. Oh, the videos. If anyone wants to see these videos that Barbara has encouraged you to watch, the best place, the easiest place to find them, babybodyparts.com.
There you
Babybodyparts.com. That's put up by Priest for Life and Father Frank Pavone. We'll head back to the phones now. Christy is waiting in Albany, New York, listening on Stations of the Cross, AM 1460. Thanks for holding on, Christy. You're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, Christy.
Hi.
Thanks for waiting.
Oh, no problem. What was that website to go to, or the email address for donating for David Delaney again?
Okay, donate at thomasmoresociety. I always get the orgs and the comms mixed up, Jack.
Hey, you know what?
No, wait, I got to find it. I'll find
Christy,
it.
are you listening on the radio?
Yeah.
I think if you'll stay on, we have someone who has donated this week who's in the queue.
It's .org. I found it. It's .org. Donate at thomasmoresociety.org. Yeah, and I did it too. It's easy. It's very easy to do.
Okay, I'm sorry. That wasn't my question, but I just wanted to make sure I got that.
Sure.
Okay, so I have 5 children. My youngest is about to get. Yeah. Well, my youngest is supposed to get his MMR shot soon, and I was never aware of the whole, aborted fetal lines in the vaccines. So I went to that childrenofgodforlife.com site, and I saw that I'm pretty sure I saw the MMR shot is on that list of.
Yes, it is. Big time.
So,
it is on the list. The only place where they have the MR plus the M, they've separated it out, and they don't use aborted fetal cells. They use hens and rabbits, it says here, is in Japan. And that is why
lazy medicine.
Yeah, just to bring this up, because a lot of people, they were even fighting with Ben Carson, between Trump and Carson on this whole thing. I kind of felt sorry for Trump because he was lambasted for, defending, the fetal cells in the vaccine, for saying that was wrong, for the fetal cells to be in the vaccines. And in the link between the vaccines and autism. That was kind of the main point of it. But in Japan, they have such a low incidence of autism. Why? Because they've never used the fetal stem cell lines called RA273 and WI-38. And so this is what we have in the United States. Merck is the one who makes this, and GSK, what is that? GlaxoSmithKline, that stands for. So measles, mumps, and rubella has all been lumped together. There was a bottom line. Their bottom line was better when they lumped measles, mumps, and rubella together. And so these are aborted fetal stem cells, and they are in these. And there are those who completely disagree with any link between taking these shots and autism. But there are also those, and if you listen to The Good Fight, Christy, on Saturday, I have two doctors on there. Well, no, Debbie Vintage is not a doctor. She's the executive director of Children of God for Life. And she's the one that will be the second hour, and Dr. Moy will be the first hour. So I would encourage all of our listeners who have questions about the vaccines. I've had Dr. Teresa Deischer on with me. She's another one that works closely with these people. And the NCBC has also talked about Teresa Deischer, Dr. Deischer, recently as being a speaker at an upcoming conference that they have. I think it was the Catholic Medical Association conference. Okay.
My oldest son has autism. It makes perfect sense to me. But what's my recourse? There's nothing. I don't know what to do.
What's your recourse? Okay. That's a good question for Debbie Vintage and Dr. Moy, because and what I listened to, I don't know, Jack, did you see the debate, the last debate that they had with all the politicians that are running for president?
My blood pressure won't allow me to watch
them. Okay, well, I toughed it out, Jack. But the whole thing is what Dr. Carson said, and Donald Trump did verify this as well, that what they need to do is spread out the vaccines. I think it was Trump who said that you look at this big syringe that they have this stuff, and they're putting it into this tiny little arm. And so I think what they're trying to say now, but I can't wait to ask Debbie and Dr. Moy, is the fact that if they spread it out more and give them smaller doses, that it's better. Now, why they say this, don't ask me.
Yeah, and the argument is that if they don't give it all at once, that a lot of low-income families will not come back for the rest of the
I think it's given in like 3 inoculations.
Yes.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that, because I thought, why would they care if it was spread out if they don't think it has any link to do with autism anyway? So I wasn't quite sure about that. But these people that I have on Saturday are experts, and they base what they talk about on the aborted fetal cell line vaccines and the Catholic family. They cite the Vatican, because the Vatican doesn't say, no, don't get it's a sin, it's cooperation with evil. They don't say that. But they don't say it's not. They just don't say it is. And Debbie brings that out. But they say that always talk to your doctor to say this has to be changed. In other words, no longer use the aborted stem cell lines. Just like Ebola, I think it wasn't long ago that the Obama administration said, sure, you go ahead, you for Ebola, you use the fetal stem cell lines. So they are all set to do that in case Ebola, when that was in the news so much, they were working on that as well. So listen on Saturday, and you can ask that very good question.
Okay, I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christy.
God
Appreciate
bless
the
you.
phone
Thank
call. We'll
you.
head now to Jacksonville, Florida. Mark, listening on Queen of Peace Radio, AM 1460. Mark, talk to me about donating to the Thomas More Society.
Hey, Mark.
Hello, Barbara McGuigan and all. I just wanted to thank you, Barbara, for promoting the Thomas More Society, who's defending Delayden, and we need to be involved. And I listened to the podcast a week ago today, as you did, and I didn't have money until Thursday, but I sent mine over the internet and begged them because I didn't know how long there was that matching funds set up, and I asked if they could match the funds to help this cause, because
and what did they say?
Everything to do. Well, I wasn't responded to, but I did send. I did in the questions and answers with my donation to the St. Thomas More Society organization, asked them that if it was still on to please add this and add the matching funds.
Yes,
so,
I mean, can you imagine to come up with just 1 month of work, how they had to come up with $60,000? This is the Thomas More Society?
Thank you so much for promoting that. And as we speak, I'm calling you from Callahan, Florida, just outside of Jacksonville. Okay. And there is a beautiful rectangular window with the Blessed Sacrament, and I'm staring at it right now, and I'm asking our Lord to bless this cause, and that this go out to all of your listeners today, and that people really think about giving even small amounts, like you say, to help the campaign to help Mr. Delayden.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mark. It's so very important. And not only that, we need to pray for David. He is exhausted, David Delayden. He mentioned this. If you listen, you would remember it was right at the top of the hour. He mentioned that he was very, very tired because he's involved in the editing, I think, of all of these videos, as well as all of the speaking engagements that he has. He's very tired, and you can imagine. And we need to pray for the Thomas More Society. That's incredibly important. And for Life Legal Defense Fund and Katie Short and all of her staff that help on this. And we have to pray for all those who are in total and complete darkness, that they open their eyes. Because, as you hear me quote St. Francis, the church, and this is why Pope Francis is here this week too, who knows, maybe he will address some of this. I surely pray he will. St. Francis said, we have been called to heal wounds, to unite what has fallen away, and to bring home those who have lost their way. Many who seem to us to be children of the devil will still become Christ's disciples. And Pope Francis, couldn't you see him saying these same words in this year of mercy? I mean, this sounds like Pope Francis, and it was St. Francis of Assisi who said those exact words. So yes, we have to pray for all those in darkness. And one more, we have to pray for truth and justice, that it will prevail, and promote these videos. I mean, when you think that the whole White House hasn't seen the videos, however, when they had this investigation, wasn't it last week, Jack? Last week they had the first day of the investigation that Congress called for. There were some in the audience, and I'm not going to say which party, so I don't look like I'm trying to be prejudiced, but there were those who assailed the GOP for showing Planned Parenthood videos at the hearing. Just let them have it, both barrels. And what did they try to do? Discredit the videos. Discredit 26-year-old David DeLayden, who is up. If ever there was a David that was up against Goliath, he is up against the whole entire evil empire right now. More so than David, who shot Goliath with the slingshot, right, Jack?
He's got a couple smooth stones in his pocket, I believe. Mark, thanks so much for that information.
Yes.
We appreciate it. Straight ahead, we'll talk to Chad in Plymouth, Michigan, Lisa in New York, and we've still got time for your phone calls at 1-800-585-9396. Toll free anywhere in North America, 1-800-585-9396. Open line Tuesday with Barbara McGuigan.
Hello, this is Bill Donahue from the Catholic League, and you're listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
EWTN is now on Twitter. Get short, timely messages from EWTN on your computer or cell phone. It's easy to stay up to date on a wide variety of topics. Pro-life news, Vatican announcements, catechesis, apologetics, the latest EWTN programming, and more. You can link to EWTN on Twitter from our homepage or go to twitter.com/EWTN. At work, at home, at school, and on the road. Stay connected to your world with EWTN's Twitter page.
What's stopping you from becoming a Catholic?
Why can't women become priests?
I don't understand why I have to earn salvation.
How is it possible that God created everyone?
Why do I need to confess my sins to a priest?
Why is the Catholic Church so unwilling to The Catholic Church is too rich.
Catholics worship Mary and are committed. As far as I'm concerned, all religions are equal.
You are called to communion with Dr. David Anders. Tonight, 11 p.m. Eastern on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
This is Open Line on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. If you have a question or comment, call 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985 or send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
Entering the home stretch of an Open Line Tuesday with our pro-life warrior, Barbara McGuigan. Next up is Chad in Plymouth, Michigan. He's listening on Ave Maria Radio, AM 990. Chad, you're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, Chad.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I couldn't be better. How about you, good man?
I am just doing fine. I had a question in particular about, I know you can get embryonic stem cells from the umbilical cord,
right?
After the baby has been born,
That's
and from
right.
the abortal fetal tissue. Is there? I understand the moral implications from getting the stem cells from the abortal fetal tissue, but what about? Are there any moral repercussions from getting those stem cells from the umbilical cord?
No, not at all. Not at all. I read one time too. You can actually get stem cells from baby teeth. You know how our first teeth fall out? I suppose that's how they get the stem cells from the baby teeth. So no, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And it's when they take the embryonic stem cells, which they get from harvesting living embryos that are 3 to 5 days old, and typically, quote, left over from in vitro fertilization clinics. Okay, this is when you're crossing over to the dark side. Because the whole idea is when an embryo's inner stem cell mass is extracted to harvest its stem cells, it is necessarily killed. So they're sacrificing human embryos and babies in their earliest stages of development in the name of science is immoral and it's dangerous. And it also is forcing us as taxpayers to fund it. And I find that especially offensive. So, but according to on Children of God for Life, USA and Canada, aborted fetal cell line products and ethical alternatives. Okay. And I'm sure Debbie Vintage, she's put this whole thing together. You can get stem cells, like for hemophilia, you can get them from a hamster, a cell line from a hamster. Hepatitis A, they call it Vero, and then they have monkey in parentheses. Hepatitis A and B, hepatitis A and typhoid, that comes from yeast. infection prevention from E. coli is the cell line they use. A hen and a rabbit used to be used for measles, mumps, the MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, the hen and the rabbit, measles and rubella. And this is how they use it in Japan. They have an MR, okay, an MR plus an M. It's separated. Measles is separated from mumps. But in Japan, they use hen eggs and hen and rabbit eggs. So on and on and on. And if you, what really kind of amazed me, rheumatoid arthritis is made from the stem cell line of a hamster. So you can get these stem cells. But here's the thing that I think needs to be said. There's nothing problematic with adult stem cell research. And it doesn't require the destruction of human embryos. It doesn't require any of that. And this is the only stem cell research with proven clinical application. Embryonic stem cells have never helped a human patient, but adult stem cells have. But see, you go follow the money, folks. Follow the money. You go back to the grants. The NIH, our own government, gives millions of dollars to research companies. So it's almost like, yay, let's just apply for this grant, and then we'll get the embryos from STEM Express and ABR and blah, 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 and then we can get this grant. I mean, I know I'm saying that rather in a crass way, but it's the truth. It's the truth. So, Chad, thanks a million.
Next up is Lisa in the great state of New York, listening on Sirius XM Channel 130. Lisa, you're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Barbara. How are you?
Thank you. Fine. How about you?
I'm good, thank you. Just in line to pick up a grandson here from the school bus stop, but I heard your show and was so emotionally moved. I do have an autistic granddaughter who's 7, and she's perfectly healthy right before her 6-month set of shots. For 30 years now, my oldest daughter is 31, actually, so for over 31 years, she had a really bad reaction to a shot as well, the DPT, and just with the MMR, too. And it's just been for so long, I've known in my heart how long the vaccinations derive from what we now know is definitely in them, and that it's such a billion-dollar industry.
Yep.
And I have a niece that's also her young son was turned blue, had to be airlifted on the day of his shot. So I want to just say, you can tell I feel bad for, I have to give Donald Trump a big thumbs up on that stage.
No kidding.
Things, and I wish Dr. Ben Carson, because he's a brilliant man, and I think sometimes you can't take the medical journal studies to be absolutely what they're saying as truthful. I know he would probably now, as even we're speaking, could even read up on that and just talk to absolute witnesses to this horrific aftermath and the jump in the 500% cases of autism since this has been introduced into the shot. So I applaud you. I applaud Debbie, David, all of these. And you know what? We're not going to give up. We're going to keep that warrior fight on, and we're going to keep praying and just love these children that have been so affected and families. God calls us, I think, to the fight even more to just be there in a loving, caring way and fight through such a atrocity. And through the pain and suffering will come something good of fruit and back to justice for our Lord.
Oh, so well said, Lisa.
God
My
bless
goodness.
you, Lisa.
God bless you, dear heart. And I'm sorry about your autistic grandson. And I just pray that we can get to the bottom of this and that people will understand. But like I say, we're up against Big Pharma, and we're up against the evil empire on a lot of this stuff. So there you go.
Thanks so much, Lisa. Appreciate the phone call. Barbara, I bet you thought you were off the hook.
I thought I was.
Yeah, well, you're not. You had homework.
Oh my goodness.
Time to turn in your homework.
I don't know if we could get into that in the oh my
4
goodness.
minutes. Go.
Oh my gosh. Okay. A dear soul called in and said there are 5 criteria that we use for brain death. And I wasn't able to actually find the 5 criteria, but And then this is opening up a huge can of worms. So we can always talk about this again next week. But determining death by neurological criteria, because this is what the brain death is what it's all about. It typically involves testing protocols that rely on, this is what they look at, bedside testing to assess absence of responses and reflexes, apnea testing to assess the absence of the ability to breathe or initiate a breath. I mean, these are all ways you're looking to see about brain death. Possible confirmatory tests to further assess the absence of brain activity, like they might take an EEG for the absence of blood flow to the brain so they could measure this with an angiogram. That's another thing. So brain death is a phenomenon made possible. Why? By the development of ventilators. Because use of a ventilator alone to assist with maintaining lower organ function for a brain-dead individual without any other interventions will typically enable survival for a matter of hours or days before an inevitable state of cardiac arrest occurs. So what the goal is and what the church, because you see, the church doesn't say, the church does not define brain death, actually. I mean, they don't decide when a death should occur. They leave that up to the medical field. But the whole basic thing that they're concerned about, the church basically, is that the moral certainty is there that an individual has died. That is the most important thing. As I said a couple weeks ago, you have to be dead. But here again, herein lies the problem. If you are dead, you what? You turn cold, you turn blue, you turn stiff, if you can say it the way I'm saying it. But they can't do transplants if this happens. So even though the church doesn't define death in a clinical sense, because that's not the church's job, it seems that the church wants you to have common sense about what constitutes death. And but the problem is when you're cold, blue, and stiff, if we use that as the definition of death, organs from these traditional cadavers cannot be used for transplantation. So that started the whole ball rolling. There's so much more to this as well. And Jack, can that be my homework for next week?
That can be, for sure. And Carol in Ohio, she's disgusted by what they're doing to David DeLayden, and she wants to know how she can donate. Give that email address one more time.
Okay, the email address is donate at, no wait, hold on. I don't want to say it wrong. Donate at Thomas More, M-O-R-E, Society.org. Donate at thomasmoresociety.org.
Thanks so much, Barbara, for being so gracious with your
welcome.
time. We'll see you Saturday on The Good Fight.
Thank
on behalf
you,
of our host, Barbara McGuigan, our producer, Michael McCall, call screener, Matt Gubinski, I'm Jack Williams, thanking you once again for tuning in. Back at it tomorrow with Father Mitch. Until then, God bless.